morning, driving in the rain, so the audio might not be all that great. Listen, these protests that are supposed to be at the state capitals, I want to ask you a question. Did anybody hear about any of that before they saw it in the news? Have you seen any social media posts? Have you seen any intel floating around that there were going to be protests at the Capitol? I haven't. All I heard is that on the mainstream media that, the FBI is warning all the states about it. Well, I haven't seen any intel about that actually happening other than that. And I'll tell you exactly what I think that is. Biden and company are going to come through with some major legislation here against quote-unquote domestic terrorism. It's going to be the Patriot Act on steroids. So my thinking about these state armed protests at state capitals on Inauguration Day is this: they're inciting this. It's a false flag, and what they're trying to do is get the governors and politicians in all these states terrified of a boogeyman, so they get on board with this new Patriot Act. Say you live in a deep red state, and you're confident that your governor and your politicians are not going to go along with this this new radical left agenda. Well, what could influence them to sign on with the left right now? If they were in fear, if they were in physical fear. So I think this armed protest thing was put out there, by the intelligence agencies to, first of all, scare the bejesus out of these local politicians, and also to incite people to go do it. They're basically planning it themselves. So, a word of caution, don't go do that armed protest at the state capitol. I'm not against armed protests. I'm not against any of that. I am against it when it's organized by the intelligence agencies. So, don't go do that. It's just a ploy to get these Republican politicians in all these states to be scared. The FBI is going to come in and tell them, oh, we have intel of 500 militia members coming to the governor's mansion. They've gone off the deep end now, Governor so-and-so, so you really need to implement this new Patriot Act ×5 that we're about to implement. And, the politician, the governor goes, oh, okay, I guess since these militias have really gone off the deep end, I'll do that. Hopefully there's some ones that are smart enough to see through all that stuff. So the censorship is just in overdrive. We all know about the Parler thing and all that. So my question is, where are all these Trump appointed or conservative judges in this country? Where are all the conservative lawyers that are going to have our back on this? Are we going to have to create a totally parallel economy with our own banks, our own media? We have to have our own grocery stores? I mean, where does this lead? If you map this out in any direction, I don't see a good outcome. I don't see anything but conflict. And that's exactly what we don't need right now. So I'm fearful for the immediate future in this country. We're so divided. The deep state and the left will do anything to get rid of anybody on the right. If it takes false flag terrorist events to put everybody in prison, to come take all the weapons, they'll do it. And they'll scare any right-leaning politician that would have stood up for us. They'll scare them with, like I said, a boogeyman, an invalid threat of violence. I hope these people don't fall for it. I also have another concern right now. Dan Bongino, my wife brought this up yesterday. He's in the fight of his life here with cancer. And on top of that, he's having to fight tooth and nail for his career. They've taken down his crown jewel, Parler. I don't know if he's going to be able to do anything about it. I did see yesterday, I think it was in Idaho. It was one of the I states, Iowa, Idaho. An internet service provider up there, at the request of a bunch of their customers, said that they're not going to carry Facebook or Twitter and all that. So good on the people for getting active and calling their internet service provider and saying, if we can't get Parler, we don't want you to allow Facebook, Twitter, Instagram on your internet service provider either. So good on them. I don't see that being something that's going to domino effect nationwide. You know, it's probably just a deep red area where people are active and they're paying attention. They're not just sitting around waiting on cue to send out an emergency alert to their phone. If you're sitting there waiting for an emergency alert on your phone and Trump's going to come fix everything, it's not going to happen. You need to get active. Q, at this point, and listen, I followed Q for a few years, not religiously. I didn't believe in a bunch of the stuff, but it was interesting. At this point, I think it was a high-level psyop for maybe to pacify well-meaning people to think that Trump and military intelligence was going to handle everything for him and fix it all. I think that Q influenced some of the people that ran into the Capitol thinking they were getting some telepathic message from Donald Trump to go be his foot soldiers. It's absolutely insane. Who in their right mind would think that was reasonable? You know, you mix that in with a couple of Antifa agitators, the mob mentality, and before you know it, there's a few hundred people in the Capitol. And like I said yesterday, what does people going into the Capitol building have to do with some of the hardcore facts, provable, verified, undeniable facts of voter irregularities? These politicians that we're going to argue on behalf of Trump and the Trump campaign and against the voter fraud and change their mind because people went in the Capitol are cowards. Do you think the founding fathers would have left the Capitol building because people came storming in? No, they would have defended it and they would have got back to work. It's absurd. That's what people need to be pissed off about. Trump's not going to save this. Trump's one guy with no support in Washington. You know, he did the best he could in the face of all this. It's up to the people now to protect themselves in their local communities from the socialist takeover, because it's coming. I wouldn't be surprised at this point to see Trump just resign, because he knows he's such a lightning rod, to try and keep the peace. You know, Trump is a peacekeeper. No foreign wars, very little conflict overseas. It was just initially, and I think he got pressured into that from the deep state military-industrial complex. If you notice, the only good press he got in the mainstream media his entire presidency is when he was drone striking in the Middle East for 2 weeks. So I think we might see a Trump resignation in the next day or two. I don't know that for sure. But there's going to be no Insurrection Act. There's going to be no servers in Germany. Even if that stuff's true, which it probably is, there's no one there to fight to hold anybody accountable for it. We're screwed. The deep state cheated. The deep state it's too deep, and they won illegitimately, but they beat us. So you got to protect your local communities. Don't listen to the Q nonsense. Nobody's going to come save the day. There's going to be no emergency alert for the Insurrection Act. That's all nonsense. This guy, Samuel, is his name Samuel? I forget his name, but he's a British guy, and he's sitting there with his dog giving all these videos about he's got the inside scoop, and Pompeo's going to be tweeting this a certain time, and Trump's going to do the Insurrection Act, and everybody's being arrested. The videos are making the rounds and people are just buying into it. My wife actually looked into that guy and went to his website. He's some paranormal maniac who thinks he has sex with aliens 4 times a year. So it's like, people are just grasping at straws here looking for hope. I understand that, but it's really promoting inactivity. Sitting around sharing memes and sharing wild, crazy links on the internet is not fighting. That's not fighting for anything. People think they're in this fight against the deep state and they're helping Trump and all that. You're not fighting anything by sitting there and sharing stuff on Facebook, okay? Get involved in your local communities, talk to your sheriff, get involved with your local school board, get involved with local politics, and let's build this wall between us and the federal government. That's what it's going to take. All right, you guys have a good day. Keep your heads up. We can get through this. We still have a constitution for now. Hopefully they don't get this new Patriot Act through, because it's coming. And I guarantee it was drafted well before all of this, and they were just waiting for the right time. Look out for a Trump resignation in the next day or two. I hope he doesn't. He's a fighter, but he's also a peacekeeper. So, should be interesting to see. Keep your head on a swivel, guys. We'll catch you next time.